everyone. Welcome back to the Israel Connection. I'm Esti Zenati, and my very special guest today is Moran Stela Yanai. Moran was held hostage by Hamas for 54 days after she was kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival on October 7, 2023, and was released during the first hostage release deal on November 29, 2023. Moran, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, thank you so much.
So, what was your October 6th like, the night before?
Wow, you're taking me way back. It's like another life, you know. October
Mm.
6th, it's another reality. I can sum it up in two ways. That in one way, I got to October 6th very proudly because I managed to assemble my shop for the first time.
Mm.
And it was supposed to be this huge opportunity of a new relationship that will go on and on and on for years. And in the other hand, I'm a very spiritual person, and I sometimes have hunches and feelings that I cannot explain. And I had really bad hunches, like my entire self is resisting to leave the house. And literally, by the time that I held the door handle to was about to open and go out, I looked at my friend and I told her, "Let's stay home." It's too much resistment, and maybe we shouldn't go. And she interpreted it as an excitement, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So that was that. It was two different emotion mixed in the same time, and I left the house eventually.
Yep. And then came October 7th.
And then October 7th, yeah.
So how did everything start in the morning, and how did it progress from there, until the time you were in Gaza?
Um, by the time that 5 a.m. arrived, I was completely confused. Had told to all of my friends in the area that I have to find a way to go home. And I couldn't. I couldn't leave my shop because we have an obligation to stay until a certain hour because
Mhm.
we're in the market. And I kept saying to myself, I need to go home. I need to go home. I need to go back home. And it's like, you know, so some future is some realities are it's gonna
Yeah.
happen
Right.
whether you like it or not. And I was really confused by 5 a.m. arrived and the producers came to the table and I told them what's going on because nobody came to our market at night. And maybe it's a good reason to go back home, you know? And they said that just wait till 6 a.m. in the morning. That's going to be the peak time. It's going to be the best time. You'll see what will happen. And 6 a.m. arrived. This beautiful sunrise arrived with it. And I was completely grateful that I had the chance to be in that moment to see 3,000 people being happy. It was my first festival and
Um,
everything was new, you know, and at the same time, everything told me you shouldn't be here. But I was there. And 6:29, this whole beautiness shattered with two rockets in the sky. And we heard so many testimonies about that moment. Through everybody, it was completely chaos. Nobody knew really what to or how to react. I don't think that anyone taught us how to be that helpless in life, not knowing what to do. Nobody taught us what do you do when you don't have nothing to do, when you don't know
right.
what to do. Um, so I was completely confused, constantly resisting to the thoughts that I have in my head. That this is not really happening. What is happening? I shouldn't be here. If you know the timeline that we stayed in the area of the Nova till 5 to 8 in the morning,
Mhm.
and at that time we were completely surrounded. And that was one cue that I didn't want to hear. That one of my friends told me. He looked at me and he said, "When I give you the cue, you go up to the car and you drive as fast as possible." And I didn't want to hear that cue, you know,
Right.
and that was that. 5 to 8, we got the cue to leave the area because we were completely surrounded, and then we started to run.
Mhm. And then you ran, and did they catch you on the way, or how did it
Now it
happen?
took them 5 hours to catch
Oh,
me.
wow.
Um, We ran away by foot. We ran away by car. We were picked up by this amazing couple that tried to save us, me and my friend.
Hmm.
And so in 5 hours, we were running by foot, by car, and then eventually we got an order from the police to get off the cars and go hide in the trees. But if anyone saw that area, there was no place to hide. So
Yeah.
we just left the car, ran away, found the tree in the middle of nowhere, and just sat down in there for 40 minutes. And I don't know, till that point, everything for me was the unknown. Because
Right.
till that point, I only heard noises. I didn't see terrorists. I didn't see the bodies. I didn't see what my friends saw on the way. I felt like something is protecting me from, seeing those things. Because eventually, each and every one of us has a different story. Just because each and every one of us got to be exposed to this amount of things to be able to react in the things that will come in their way ahead. And eventually, that was one point that we heard screaming in Arabic. And it's not only gunshots and grenades and RPGs and everything they could find. It's now screaming in Arabic. This is becoming real.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, I felt this is a bad dream. And the minute that I heard the screaming, that was it. This is happening. I'm not sure what is happening, but it's happening. And they found me. I mean, my friends managed to run away.
Oh, wow.
Our group split into two. Some of them kept running ahead. Some of us thought that we were hiding until a point that was one fracture moment of silence. And then we heard cuckoo, like you surprise your child.
Wow.
And then we looked up, we see a bunch of terrorists standing on top of the mountain, laughing at us, celebrating, and then starting to run. I mean, everything I'm telling you is seconds.
Yeah. But
I
it
mean, you
feels like
feel
forever,
in
I'm
many
sure.
feelings, but it's seconds in reality.
Yeah.
And in a second, all of my friends disappeared. I mean, they were next to me. That's what I mean. This one should go back home. She was supposed to be kidnapped. I
Yeah.
mean, they were really tied to my side, and eventually they vanished away. I didn't know if they're dead or alive, but I was caught at that moment by two terrorists.
Mhm. And then they just dragged you into Gaza?
Oh no.
Uh, was the
Even
whole thing.
that was a process.
Yeah.
I was caught 3 times.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
the first time I was caught by two terrorists, and I pretended to be an Arab. I had an Arabic necklace on my neck that I used with my name on it, and using ton of manipulation because I really don't understand more than 5, 6, 7 words in Arabic. But I was pretending to be fainting when I didn't understand what they're saying, and eventually they decided to release me. And then the second group was 10 terrorists, again using my necklace, again pretending to be an Arab, and 10 to 15 minutes with unimaginable. I cannot even understand what happened in that moment, but they heard the noise and decided to run away and leave me there. Um, but at that time, I didn't have my necklace anymore because I gave it as a present.
Mhm.
And I did the one thing that no one was supposed to do that day. And I screamed really loudly. And another group heard me. Looking back,
Oh,
seeing 13 terrorists running towards me, understanding that now it's happening. I'm not sure, again, what is it, but it's happening. And they caught me.
wow. After you got to Gaza in your first few days in captivity, what were your thoughts like? What were you thinking about? Did you think it would last as long as it did?
Now, obviously not, but on the other hand, you don't really understand what is happening. This is a horror movie mixed with reality, mixed with your all of your worst case scenario happening. I mean, you don't really have the grip of when I'm gonna come back home, especially not in the first days. It's first of all, I need to survive.
Yeah.
That's much worse. I broke both of my legs and not be able to run away or protect myself in any way. And in my case, I was also under investigation when I arrived to that house, to the first house, and bad choice of clothing to that day because I was wearing a green army lookalike
Oh,
uniform and army boots. And they determined that I was an officer in the army and I'm pretending not to be. So you don't really have the time to understand when you're going to come back home. Eventually, after 2 hours, they brought into the room an 18-year-old girl. So we were not allowed to speak for 3 days. So
oh,
again, first of all, I need to understand what is happening. Second of all, I need to protect myself. Then need to protect her. Eventually, coming back home is in time is not your purpose. Your
mhm,
purpose is to survive. Or I put myself a target in my head. I put a picture of my mother in my head. That's the one thing that I knew how it feels, how it looks like, and that's what I'm going to imagine every single day. That's much easier for me than understanding when I'm going to come back home.
yeah. So that brings me to my next question. What kept you hopeful during that time? Just thinking
Uh,
about your mom and your family, or was there any like specific things that you did to help you cope with the whole thing?
First of all, keeping my faith,
Mhm.
understanding that they maybe took everything, even my name, even my private name was changed, and but I have my faith and I have my my imagination, so I can protect myself in there. You understand?
Yeah.
I sent myself so many times through my imagination to so many places, and I mean, in my case, I had a preparation because I'm an emotional trainer.
Mhm.
And I went through a process in 6 years to how to protect myself from everything,
Yeah.
how to interpret things different, how to breathe differently, how to be just better, So eventually, in captivity, that's what kept me safe. Praying
Mhm.
every single minute because people don't understand that we don't have days, hours, weeks. We have moments. If you survive a moment, nothing ensure you that you will survive the next one.
Right.
So being grateful for every little second that you are surviving this situation, that's what kept me safe.
Yeah, and that's something that we don't think about being free, out in the outside world in our regular life, everyday life. We don't think about that. We just, with whatever happens, happens. We go day by day. We don't think about those little moments that anything can happen.
Do you know that I forgot the moon?
Really?
I
Wow.
forgot about the moon. I mean, I always wanted to see the sun because you're completely darkness, but I forgot about the moon. And an hour after, not an hour, a few hours after I came back, because we came back in the middle of the night
Mhm.
and there was this sunrise. But I asked from the doctor to go out to smoke a cigarette, and we sat down. We sat down on the ground, and I looked up, and how is it in the morning hours? You can still see the moon, even if it's
Mhm.
bright.
Right.
And I looked up, and I suddenly saw the moon, and I was like, "Oh my God! I completely forgot that he's exist." I completely forgot, and I was only 54 days inside.
Mhm.
And I'm saying only because knowing that that could have lasted till today, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah, the fact that people are still in there,
yeah,
um, all these all those days after, it just I can't. I mean, I can't even. I don't even have the words to describe it because it's so crazy. And knowing that you guys, the guys that have been there for the first 54 days, have been through so much in that amount of time, just
yeah,
thinking how much they've been through in the past year and 4 months, it's
yeah,
just unbearable.
exactly. And
Um,
still going on.
yeah, still going on, and we don't know how long it will go on. I hope and I pray that they will all be released as soon as possible,
All
but
of
we don't know.
us. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, so you said that you had an 18-year-old girl with you. Do you think that being together with someone else helped you cope better with this? Do you think
for
that it would have been
sure.
different by yourself?
In all of my lectures, I say I got a present.
Mhm.
The minute she walked into the room, I received a present, because if she wasn't there, I'm not sure I would have do everything, like I did, because she's there. And I understood really fast that I need to protect myself because I have to protect her. And I know how it works. If I'll not protect myself, I cannot protect her. So for me, I got a present because it focused me really fast how to, what to, and I started to communicate with them really fast. That just because of that.
Mhm. Yeah, I know the girls from Nachal Oz said that them being together helped them tremendously, and
Yeah.
when they were separated for a little bit, I guess one was separated, it was a lot harder.
It's much
Um,
harder. I
yeah.
mean, in during my captivity, um, I was total 4 hours by myself. I was 2 hours at the first day and another 2 hours on day 49.
Mhm.
Those 2 hours I remember even more than
Yeah,
different days. It's the stamp on your physical body, the fear, the anxiety, the unknowing what they're gonna do with you, and you hear them argue above your head. You don't understand
right.
what's the decision. I don't want to think. I've heard that some hostages were by themselves the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we
That's
saw them
insane.
right, we saw the men coming back, were
Even some
mostly by
girls.
themselves,
There
even some
was
girls,
some
yeah,
girls that
right,
was by themselves the entire time of captivity. You will never know what happened to her.
right,
She will never know what happened to her if she will not process it. I mean, it's different.
yeah. It's I mean, I can only imagine how terrifying it is as a woman to be alone with all these terrorists around you, and I
Yeah.
don't know, yeah.
I mean,
Um,
our first house was four terrorists sleeping with us. At the
wow,
first night, there was four men sleeping with us in the same room. You don't want to go to sleep.
yeah, because you wanna protect yourself at all times.
Yeah.
So, when did you find out that you were going to be released, and did you think that they were playing with you? Did you think that they were trying to manipulate you?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you believe that? Yeah.
They fooled me on the day 49. They got me to put my disguise on.
Mhm.
They walked me in the street with two other hostages. They brought me into the exchange point, and then somebody pulled me back and he whispered in my ear, "Not you, not now." And he pulled me back into the houses. I mean, even on the second and on the third time they came saying that I'm going to be released, I didn't believe them.
Mm.
And I remember my last conversation with the hostage that eventually they said, "You're going home." And again, put me on disguise. I remember that I told her, so we know I'm either gonna be dead or going to
Yeah.
be released. But if I'm gonna be dead, please tell my parents that I did my best. But that's the reality. I mean, you accept things really fast. You don't.
Yeah, you don't have a choice, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was that process like for you from the time you got in the Red Cross car all the way into Israel? What went through your mind?
Well, many things. I was the one in the Jeep that got the first call from the officer in the IDF.
Mhm.
And it's the first time that I'm hearing Hebrew and somebody is asking me, "How are you?" And I remember that I was still on my protecting identity, I guess, I took on myself at
Yeah.
that period of time. And I'm like, but we're driving in completely darkness. Is anyone protecting us from the sides? I mean, the cars are not bulletproof.
Right.
Everybody is driving on 70 kilometers per an hour. Everybody can attack us at any point. And it was the 30 minutes drive, the longest one that I had my entire life. But eventually we got the right and the grace to cross to the other side, to the Egyptian side.
Mhm.
And even when I was in the hospital in Israel, even then, I always looked in my back, afraid that somebody was going to come and say, "I'm sorry, we got confused. You need to go back."
Aw. Mm.
And it took me, it took me a day or two to understand that this is it. I'm here, and nobody's coming to take me.
Yeah. What was the reunion like with your family?
In so many ways, the best experience that I had in my entire life. I mean, just because I sat down, put that target in my
Mhm.
head that that's the way I'm gonna see my parents. I even pictured my mother, what she's gonna wear, how she gonna look like, my father, my sister, my brother. And eventually, when I got to the hospital, she was wearing the exact clothes that I pictured in my head.
Oh,
And I was even more happy. I mean, I screamed. I remember when you see the video, I screamed so hard. I'm like, Mom! And you know what? I heard what I said to her, my first words.
mhm.
And then I heard that the entire hostages say it to their families when they reunited with their families. I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm crying, but I'm okay. I mean, so I
Oh,
was really happy, really happy. That was the best moment of my life, for sure.
oh, it's amazing. We see like,
Minister,
yeah, we see hostages that come back now and they're asking their families, "Oh, are you okay?" Like, it's incredible.
because we were worrying about them, sitting in our side, even being worried, is my family okay? I mean, unfortunately, some hostages thought that their family is okay, but came back to know that their family is gone.
Yeah.
Looking at the Bibas family
Oh,
and the Sharabi family, such a devastating story. And I'm a little bit even more sad. Why did we needed to wait for these two babies to come back in a
in a
coffin
coffin. Yeah.
and not doing anything way back, and I'm talking to the entire world. I'm not talking to my Israel, I'm talking to every human
Yeah.
being. Why do we need to see these pictures to get up from our chairs and say this is not okay? In any place, no baby should die because somebody is not agreeing with his neighbor.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. I mean, to
Yeah.
me personally, the Bibas family have been on my mind since day one. I don't think that for the rest of my life I will ever forget the image of Shiri's face and Ariel's face when they were like when she was holding the babies on her with the blanket
They're
and
not
all the terrorists
crying,
were
they're
around
not
them.
making a sound.
They were
All
shocked.
three of them
Yeah.
understanding that a bad thing is happening. And just because we don't know what happened really, we're using our imagination, which can get worse, can
Right.
devastate, and can break so many hearts, just to
Mhm.
picture what was. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to put on my thoughts, but
Yeah.
what the questions that I asked myself when I got to know that what happened, because I remember when I came back, I didn't know that there were babies. I knew that there is one girl that she was 13 and she's the youngest one that I met.
Mhm.
I did not even think that a baby can be in that situation. And I remember that on the second day I came back from test, and my brothers tried to hide me because we need to go up back to the department. But then I saw somebody hanging pictures of babies, but on the same poster that my picture was
Oh,
on. And I remember I looked at my sister naively saying, "Why is he hanging a picture of a baby?" And she just rushed me off from there. She didn't want to tell me that there were babies in that situation. No worries,
yeah. How do it
really.
make you feel seeing your posters out there with your face on it, knowing what the people, of Israel have done all that time to try to release everybody?
So in my time, they had a habit to take off all our pictures before we come back. So I didn't get to
Oh,
see the posters really, but they showed me pictures, and I
mhm.
remember I told them, "This is look like you used an Photoshop app." And then cut my picture and put it on posters. And it took me time. That's why we asked from the new families that leave the posters, let them see
Yeah,
how many places. Just think of them daily from morning to night. And but I got to see dozens of people in 3:30 a.m. in the morning standing in the streets pajamas, not pajamas, with flags and celebrating our coming back. And I really, really was shocked that this amount of love is. I mean, this is the Jewish people.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the Jewish people. This is the best thing that can describe what is the Jewish people, and that's amazing. Amazing.
Did you think that you guys were gonna be when you come back would be so like famous, I guess? Like people
Oh no.
everybody would know your name, everybody would know what you look like?
Everybody laughs at me because what I said to the hostage who was with me. I told her I'm gonna come back home. Nobody knew because I didn't know that more people were kidnapped from the party.
Mm.
She was
Yeah.
from the kibbutz. I thought that I was the only one that was mixed in this, event. And I told her, I'm going to come back. I'm going to call my father. I'm going to tell him, Dad, I came back. Don't wake up, Mom. It's too late. Just come and take me home. And I didn't even think that. I mean, you know what? I even had a conversation with her or how am I coming back home? My business is broken. I didn't pay my rent. And what am I gonna do? But
Yeah.
no, yeah,
Uh,
that was amazing to come back and find out that so many people are having my back.
yeah, that's amazing. It's good to see the amount of people. Like, even yesterday at the funeral of the Beavis family, the people that were just standing on the streets while the cars were driving by, it was just incredible, incredible to
That's
see.
incredible, and that's beyond incredible. And I still want to say that we don't need two babies to do that. There were so many
Right. Right.
funerals, other funerals that not many people came. I really want the world to react to each hostage the same. I mean, we need to pray for each and every one of the hostages that are still in Gaza, not only on one of them.
Right.
Think of them as a group. Maybe that's how they're gonna go out together.
Yeah. That's true. You're right. Um, so you broke both of your legs during the attack, and you're still healing from that and going through treatment. How has the healing process been for you since you came back? And what's ahead for you in that?
I mean, again, it was completely different in my case because I came back and I still had two more hostages that were with me in captivity, and I didn't wait that long. I took my first flight in January,
Hmm.
straight to start the fight. And since then, I flew for 15 different countries, trying to share my stories, my insights, my thoughts of how we can help them to come back home. But not only that, being better to each other, trying to change this narrative because that's what I was afraid of. People coming back in coffins when they should have come back alive.
Right.
That we had the time, and they didn't had the time, and that's the thing that I really want to each and everyone to understand that we take 5 minutes sometimes and stand up in the middle of the house just to stare, right?
Hmm.
In those 5 minutes, they can be dead.
Right.
So that's what I want people to understand.
And you said you went outside of Israel to speak, and you've been through, you've been speaking everywhere, basically on the news, and you had interviews on magazines, and you went to college campuses. And there was one specific thing you did in college campus in UCLA, and you joined Musab Yosef, and you spoke to this guy, Aiden, who is anti-Israel, Hamas supporting student. How was that experience like for you? Like, what did you feel in that moment? Do you think that
So at first I want to be accurate because we didn't do it inside the university
okay.
just because we trying to avoid violence, but
Mhm.
everybody was invited. I
Yes, okay.
mean, the pro-Palestinians and the Jewish people were invited. Eventually, no pro-Palestinian came to back up Aiden.
Oh.
Only, oh yeah, that's the
Hmm.
thing.
Okay.
It was open to the entire crowd. Everybody could have come. They chose not to come. There was no even one pro-Palestinian in the crowd. And for me, I was invited to do this debate, but eventually I told them that I'm not gonna make my mother angry because she didn't want me to be inside, bad arguments or
Yeah.
stuff like that, and she's protecting me. But they asked me to come as a guest, and I came. By hearing what he had to say to Musab, erased so many anger inside myself that I really planned on coming on stage and I'm, I'm sorry, but don't have a different way to describe it. In my
Mhm.
head, I wanted to take a chair and break on his head. But eventually, I took a deep breath and chose myself again and chose to keep my energy to myself because
Mhm.
then again, he represents the entire pro Palestinians. He represents the Hamas that trying to break us, trying to make up things that didn't happen
Right.
using their imagination or conspirative head that I don't know how a human being gets to these thoughts. And you know what? I told him the one thing that he needed to hear. You don't get the right to speak about anything if you didn't experience it on yourself. And
Exactly.
unfortunately, I had the right to be in Gaza and I have the right to be in Israel. And I also have been in the US knowing how to be okay with the American culture, I learned how to be in the American with the American people. I mean, you just sit there making accusation of an entire people that you don't even know, and
Right.
you can come to Israel, you can put your disguise, walk between us, nobody will know, nobody will do you anything. Learn us, see if you're I don't know even how to call it, using this uh, he said that we have concentration camps in Israel.
What?
And I told him that's really bizarre because my neighbors, my in front door neighbor, when I used to live in Beersheba, now I live in a
Mhm.
different place, but my neighbor and my upper neighbor and the neighbor downstairs, all of them Arabs, have the same rights that I have. What
Yep.
are you talking about? What are you talking about? Then come to my mixed city and then say the things that you're saying. And I want to see if you will find proofs.
Yep.
And that's what I don't get with people. Come to see what you don't know, whether you support it or not. Put your disguise. Nobody needs to know who you are. Learn us. You
Yeah.
even have an advance. Use it.
That's true. And even if you walked around with no mask on, no disguise, nobody
Yeah,
would do
probably
anything to
nobody
you.
will do anything to him. You know what? I looked at him and I told him, I need to shake you in and out.
Mhm.
And even then, I will not find even a fracture of an Arab in your DNA oral culture.
Right.
I am literally an Arab. I mean, I am literally half Moroccan, half Egyptian, but I'm very much Jewish. And he couldn't comprehend it. I mean, even the Hamas, when they found out that my mother is Moroccan and my father is Egyptian, the first thing they had to say, you're an Arab that betray her culture.
Oh my
No,
God.
I'm not. Using your conspiracy head is not going to solve you anything or make you develop to a better place as a human being or people.
Yeah. So do you think like your words got to him somehow, or do you think he just ignored everything and stayed the same?
I truly believe
Mhm.
that when a person doesn't say anything, that's a point that he stops to resist. And I
Mm.
really want to believe that by sitting there, not saying anything, because he had nothing to say to me, but I saw his body language and I saw when he was uncomfortable and I saw when he was listening to me.
Mhm.
So, I saw his actions after this debate. They was much worse than before.
Oh my God.
And I say to myself, you know what? I'm even happy that he's in this place because he's just a step from falling down.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for him to fall down because maybe then he will raise up better.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I mean, we'll see what happens to these people.
Yeah.
There was a group yesterday that at Columbia University that took over the hallways and started screaming "Free Palestine" and banging on stuff, and they even injured one of the employees of the university. It was a whole thing, and I mean, they still go on with those. I don't know, it's crazy.
I don't
Um,
see how it will become better if people, human beings, will not change their narrative of this
right.
situation.
Yep. I think our leaders and people of power have to start changing things and implementing new rules, maybe, or just doing more to
You
make
know
this
what?
stop.
I'll end up the duel with this thing. The last thing that I told him when he thought that the camera went off
Mhm.
was, you know what? I see you're a smart person that knows how to read books. Um, why aren't you using your power of influence to connect people and then not to separate them. If you're
Right.
talking that you're protecting this small group of people, why aren't you connect this group of people with this group of people and making peace, and not
Yeah,
using it for bad things and violence?
exactly. That's true. Um, Milan, what is your no like a number one wish for yourself? What do you want to see in your future?
Now I'm trying to focus of enjoying life because I was on automatic pilot this past year and 4 months, and I just trying to regain myself that I'm alive and I want to live every day for the fullest. So I will not back down until the last hostage is coming back home, and
Hmm.
I'm even more attending to be with the families and everything. And am gonna come back to the U.S. to do more, sharing my story or sharing my insights. But again, with all of that, I'm just trying to be this mother of a dog and a cat, um, and enjoying this present. And I got my life back to my own hands.
That's amazing to see that. I'm so happy to see you doing all these things and using your experience to help other people, to give the voice to people that are no longer with us or people that can't use their voice because they're stuck in a tunnel. It's just amazing, and I honestly I'm in awe of you, and I applaud you for everything that you do. And I'm so honored that I get a chance to talk to you because it's incredible. I mean, I don't want to cry, but it's been.
I'll share with you with my that there is this author Eva. She's
Mhm.
a Holocaust survivor, and she did a thing that made many Holocaust survivors really angry. And when I read her story, and I was exposed to it before October 7th, I was like, I wish I had the chance to do that. So I'm working on eventually find forgiveness
Mhm.
to myself, and my inspiration that one day one of the terrorists that kidnapped me will be in jail, and I will come with my children and my husband, and I will walk into the rooms just smiling at him. Thank you for this opportunity, and leave the room with my legacy.
Yeah,
That's my biggest dream.
that's the best victory picture. And I mean, you are a survivor. You're a winner because you're out there and you are living your life. You are doing everything you can to live your life, and
Trying
that's
to.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, I can only imagine how hard it is, especially after
it's
all this time
it's
with,
difficult.
and
Yeah,
we're still in it. We're not, there's nothing is done yet, unfortunately. But everything that you've been doing is just amazing. And
thank you so much.
yeah, and I hope that your future is as bright as can be and that you have the family, the kids, the husband, and everything that you're wishing, for yourself.
Yeah,
And that you show them, that you go and show them that they couldn't put you down. You did what you had to do.
yeah, yeah. It was a daily fight, but in my case, I won, and I just hope that that will be the story for all the other hostages that are still in captivity.
Yeah.
Wishing them that I wish that they can hear us, and I wish that they can understand that we are having their back. We will never back down until everybody will come back home.
Yeah. Yeah. We won't stop until the last one is out.
And I'm calling to everybody that can hear this podcast. You have so many ways
Right.
to show solidarity with us. None of them is violent.
Hmm.
All of them is just love and hugging. So just I wish that everybody will be inside the story with us.
Yeah. And before we go, what is your message to the world?
I can use so many big words, and eventually, I want to say to each and everyone, when you get up in the morning, the first thing you do, you go look in the mirror. Try not to look at your phone. Try to look at yourself in the mirror. What is the first thing you say to yourself in the morning? Because if you wish yourself a good life and a better day, then there is no reason that by the time that you left your house, the first person that you will see, you will I forgot the word. You will wish that you will have the same day that you
Right.
will. By doing that, we can not only protecting myself. We're building a chain of nice people being kind to their neighbors. Forget about everything because on October 7th, nobody cared what you believe, how you look like, what's your age, where you came from. If you were there, you were a target. And that's
Right.
how life, and it's happening in so many other countries that nobody's speaking about. I mean, I'm happy for my Jewish people that are fighting, making so much noise that the entire world can hear us. But there are so many countries out there having the same situation that nobody's speaking about. This shouldn't happen in any country. To know people, we don't have nothing but our life and our friends. Trying to protect that.
Right. And you're 100% right. Moran, I wish I could give you a hug right now. Maybe
Thank you
next time
so
when I
much.
come visit. Thank you so much for being here with me. It's been a true pleasure talking to you. And please send our love to everybody that you get to meet. I know you get to meet the families soon, so please send our love to them. And thank you all for listening. Until next time.
Thank you so much.